2020, like many other cities, began with a lot of promise, and we had a lot of excitement. We were building on a program to help build a modern transportation system here in San Antonio. We had 3.5% unemployment. The economic momentum in this city it was the greatest we had seen in a generation. And then, of course, everything changed when the pandemic hit for our city and every city around the country. And our priority became, how do we ensure the health and safety of our city, our residents, and save lives? And we did that, and we have been doing that. But very quickly we had to pivot because the photo of this pandemic is seared in the minds of everyone in this community and really across this country, because it's become the image for the entire United States. 120,000 people per week depending on the food bank for food to put on the table. That was our city. And what was so striking and why that moment has become a moment of clarity for our community and for every city in the country is the recognition that line doubled immediately when the pandemic began. That meant 60,000 people per week in our city, San Antonio, 7th largest city in the United States, had to depend on the food bank for food. Under no circumstances should that be acceptable. And the recognition that so many thousands of families here in San Antonio and millions of American families across this country had been on the brink of economic devastation long before this pandemic began. When we had that great economic momentum, when we had 3.5% unemployment, when businesses were opening and thriving, we can't go back to the way things were. And so we changed our priorities to, number one, ensuring we saved lives, that people had food to eat, that no one in the city lost their homes, lost the roof over their heads because of this pandemic. And then very quickly ensuring that those businesses that had suffered, those small businesses, had access to the capital to keep the lights on and to survive this pandemic. And that children and families and businesses that needed to be on the internet so they can get by, because things weren't happening in person, that we bridged the digital divide and made sure that they had access to the internet. And then quite quickly, making sure that people could get back on their feet into stable, sustainable careers. 150,000 people filed for unemployment in the months following this pandemic. Nearly a half of those people were making less than $22,000 a year. And up to a third of the jobs that had been lost will never come back again. The economy has changed, the landscape has changed, the ground beneath our feet has shifted. And so with our workforce recovery strategy, our economic recovery strategy, our purpose is to ensure that San Antonio families, our neighbors and our loved ones, can get back on their feet, that they can sustain themselves and their families in stable careers. And the only thing that's preventing that from happening is education and training. And so we developed a program that is today training 15,000 San Antonio residents who have lost their jobs. And that's going to happen through the rest of the year and into September. But we know from every economist in this country that the economic recovery is going to be a long one and we have to endure. So Prop B will allow us to take that workforce recovery and economic recovery strategy to train our neighbors and loved ones into higher wage, in-demand careers for jobs that are available right now. We're going to continue that effort to bring another 40,000 people into stable, sustainable careers over the next 4 years without raising taxes. This is our opportunity to get San Antonians back on their feet, to fight back against the devastation of this pandemic, and to make the most significant disruption of generational poverty that the city will have ever made. This will change the course and for the better for the children and grandchildren who will come after us, and it will help bring our economy back to a place that's stronger, more resilient, and more equitable. And all it takes is for us to vote yes on Prop B. SA ready to work.